Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Tom Garruba with Echelon Risk and Cyber doing this week's TPRM Tidbits. Quite a few years ago, somebody once brought up to me and said, is there a way you can put third-party risk on something that I could take to my management? I came up with a formula. And this is the formula that I've relied on for many years and even share this with both internal audit and other programs professionals, so they have an understanding of what it takes to not just an active third-party risk management program, but it can actually help you with any program that you want to roll out within your organization. I had this first published back in 2016 as part of the Risk.net book series, and this one was called Cyber Risk, and I had the pleasure of writing the chapter of third-party risk management. In this, I first had this published. This is called the Garruba Mortenson theory. Myself and a gentleman by the name of Ken Mortenson, at the time was the chief privacy officer that I reported to, and he gave me the impetus to put something together that really helps to better understand and to implement a solid program that's going to help you roll that out of what you need with respect to your policies, your procedures, your standards, your practices, everything you need to make sure that you have. So in the event a regulator or an auditor comes in, you have everything lined up in the program that's functioning properly. So let's start here with this too. This big P here, this is actually your program, whatever program you want to do. In this case, we're talking about a third-party risk management program. This P1 is actually your policy. This is the governing document that you have, and it's of the most importance. That's why you have your policy in your first possession. This P2 actually represents your procedures along with any standards that you need implemented to keep your program running. Documentation standards, assessment standards, scoping standards. Maybe if you're doing something with respect to cardholder data, you're using PCI guidance as part of that scoping. This P3 here, these are your daily practices. Now, your daily practices don't need to be written down. However, they need to be understood by your entire team, by you, and obviously by your management as well. So they have an understanding of what's going on. Now, when you're starting to craft your program, where do you start? Too many people start here at the policy, but if you go back to 5th grade algebra, actually start what's inside the parentheses. That's why this formula makes so much sense. You start to craft your procedures and standards. How is your program supposed to run? Then you start getting a feel for what your daily practices are going to be. You know, what kind of emails, but what should be the cadence of it? Who signs off on this or who signs off on that? Now, you need to make a decision as to, even if these are daily practices, if you tie those into your procedure, they're going to be this thick. So it's best that if you have an understanding of what your practices are, you can explain that to your management, you can explain it to auditors, you can explain it to regulators. They get a sense of what you have here. Now when you have your procedures and your standards and your practices, that's when you're going to craft your policy. You want to make sure your policy is in alignment with your procedures and standards. As an auditor, and as an assessor of third-party risk programs, I have seen far too many organizations start with the policy, and then when you go in and you take a look at what they have from a procedure and a practice perspective, they can't adhere to the policy because they started here first. So to have a good, solid program and to make it run successfully, use the Garruba Mortenson theory and apply and develop your procedures and your practices. And you can also change these at any point in time to augment and better your program. Your policy should rarely be changed. And when you have to make a change, this is the one that requires senior executive sign-off. Okay? So it's important for you to know that. And I think this is something that you'll be able to pocket away and you'll be able to use when you're working on your program. If you're new to this and you have to establish a program, this is something to rely on. I want to thank everybody for attending. I also want to thank my colleague, Kasha Kieran, who is helping me on this session here. And I hope to see you all next week again for another series of TPRM Tidbits. Take care.